So our background, original background is we are a corporate venture from our roots. We're the former Schneider Electric Ventures team. We're currently managing two venture funds, the first 50 million euro fund and the latest, the 2010 fund, that's 107 million euros. We're investing globally. We're covering also global geography, including here in Asia, China, and Japan. Our main investors are still corporates, but we're not working anymore for one corporate. We have actually three main anchor investors, which are Alstom, which are Schneider Electric, and Solvay. We also have a financial institutional investor, the European Investment Fund, in our investor base. Our investment focus is clean tech in a rather broad sense. So we look at energy, upstream energy conversion, storage, so what we call the new energy mix. We invest in energy efficiency. We invest in cities, smart cities, sustainable city projects, and we invest into resources, particularly also materials, advanced materials plays. The team, and I think that's important, that defines us also a bit. If you look at partner level, the four partners, we all have a background among those corporates, which are our main investors. And we're trying to leverage this personal network of personal contacts to create value in our portfolio. So I, for example, myself, as it was mentioned, I've been with Alstom as head of strategy in the power business for 7 years. I know a lot of people in Alstom very well on a personal basis, and I can open doors for our portfolio companies and help our portfolio companies in which we invest to engage with Alstom and create projects and value. And I'll come to that in more detail. On the level of investment managers and juniors, we have then more people that come from consulting, that come from venture backgrounds, so more the traditional venture teams. I mentioned our investment focus, so essentially energy conversion, energy storage, transmission distribution. We look at industrial energy efficiency, we look at smart buildings, resources management, advanced materials, and then smart infrastructure and mobility. We invest across the stage, so from seed stage, from the very first moment of a company to growth stage. In the seed stage, we're fairly careful. We make sure, with a 10-year fund life, you cannot invest in a company that will have another 5 years until they have developed the product. So we make sure that time to market fits our investment strategy. And so seed stage, we probably do more service business models, investing in companies that bring to market the new service idea. In early to growth stage, we also go into hardware investments, technology development. We would invest between 500,000 and 4 million euros in an individual investment round. We follow our money in over several rounds. We always co-invest with other investors, so we're not the sole investor in a company. We always take minority positions, so we don't go into majority. We're not looking to acquire companies for our corporate sponsors. How are we creating value, or where is the value that we create? I mean, obviously, as a team with a lot of operational experience in the energy and materials industries, we bring, first of all, our personal experience to the table, and that's the first bullet here. The fact then that Alstom, Schneider, Solvay has invested in a startup, the companies in which we invest, they always exploit that. They like to mention that, and it has obviously an endorsement value that gives those companies a new momentum when they can claim that the big corporate has endorsed them. We also look then to engage in technical cooperations between corporates and our portfolio companies, essentially trying to validate their technology, but also start designing maybe for a new application. Take a technology and look how could it be introduced into the power generation market or into the railways market or so. And then finally, we also look to open new markets, for example, geographically, relying on the sales network, so sign joint marketing agreements between our corporate sponsors and the portfolio companies. I'd like to present two case studies of two investments we have made, and also how we then developed the relationship between the corporates and those startups. So the first is an investment from our first fund, a company called Solaire Direct. And it was literally 3 gentlemen and a set of 20 PowerPoint slides on which we invested in 2006. They came to our office. There was a service business model. France was about to introduce feed-in tariffs for rooftop PV. And these 3 gentlemen, they had a business model where they said, we're going to not just install PV, but we also look for financing, for permitting. So we do a turnkey job, and we just rent the people's rooftops. So we pay them a monthly rental fee for their rooftop. We put those PV on their roofs, and we operate them, maintain them, and do all the necessary work around it. The 3 gentlemen, they were, experienced, seasoned entrepreneurs. One gentleman coming from the banking industry, so a highly credible team, and we thought, why not? I mean, this is a new trend. We didn't immediately see an angle, with Schneider, Alstom or so, but we thought this is really something new coming up, and we need to be in the solar space in 2006. We invested in the company, and they grew very quickly. They started very quickly also looking at larger projects, at commercial size, 100 kilowatt projects. And that was when then for the financing, the banks were looking, they said, well, this is a startup company. Panels are, solar panels, yes, they're really reputable sources at the time from German suppliers. But, who is your partner for the electrical balance of plant? Who is making sure this works? And that's where we introduced Schneider, and Schneider started becoming Solaire Direct's partner for doing the engineering on the electrical balance of plant side, and went then to market, particularly for the larger projects with Solaire Direct. That allowed Solaire Direct to raise financing from the banks, gave them a lot of credibility, and actually allowed Solaire Direct to grow faster than its competitors. They signed on more projects, they executed more projects, and had more under management. In the next step, Solaire Direct went into the megawatt size solar plants, so utility size. Today, Schneider is a supplier, Siemens is a supplier, ABB is a supplier to Solaire Direct. There's no exclusivity, but this partnership with Schneider in the years 2008, 2009, 2010, that really gave the company a big momentum that put it ahead in the market. Today, Solaire Direct makes 200 million euros of revenues, and obviously, as I said, for Schneider, it was also its first step into the solar market. You may know Schneider subsequently acquired an inverter company, Xantrex in Canada, and started building essentially on Solaire Direct, started building its solar market strategy. So that's a first example of a cooperation, which is actually really fruitful for both sides. For the corporate, because here, Schneider got exposure to a new market that it wasn't aware of, and obviously for Solaire Direct, because it could lean on Schneider for credibility and ultimately for financing. Next example is then more a hardware, a technology cooperation, a company called IOxus, in which we invested in 2011. They're making ultra-capacitors, so essentially battery-like storage devices. Difference to a battery is that an ultra-cap stores a lot of power, short time, can cycle a lot, can do 500,000 cycle, but does not have a lot of energy. So it's ideal for any application where you put in energy quickly and need to get it out again, like braking energy recovery in a car or in a bus, or UPS server applications and so on. So IOxus has a specific, first of all, manufacturing process, coating process for the electrodes, but also module designs. So they have high density, power and energy density products that use less space in a car, in a bus, or in a tram. Applications, as I mentioned, hybridization, so for trams, for buses. In the wind turbines, for the pitching of the blades, you need a short-term power source. So traditionally that was done by lead-acid batteries, but you pitch the blades on average 3, 4, 10 times a day. So those lead-acid batteries, they are consumed after 2 years. With those ultra caps, it's 10, 15 years maintenance-free, essentially. Backup power, medical, I mentioned as well. So again, we invested in IOxus, and then subsequently we have developed with Schneider and with Alstom several cooperations. So with Schneider, we started off with an engineering study for the UPS market, and we're now negotiating a commercial agreement, a joint going to market for the UPS systems in server farms. We also did an engineering study and a module development for Alstom's new offshore wind turbine, the 6 megawatt Haliade turbine, along with IOxus. And we also qualified IOxus technology for Alstom's trams. We see here the applications. So here we piloted IOxus ultra caps on the roof of a tram. This tram can drive 2 or 3 stations without catenary, so without taking electricity from the network. Just by charging the supercapacitor at one station, it can carry on for the next 2 stations. And that is quite useful, for example, first of all, if there's a power cut, but then also in city centers in Europe, more and more cities are renovating their city center, and they don't want to get rid of these catenaries because they're ugly. And so this is becoming a new product in the market, a new offer. In the wind turbine I mentioned, so we're putting these ultra capacitors into the blade pitching system. That's the Alstom 6 megawatt offshore turbine. So here we're essentially creating business volumes for IOxus in 3 new applications. Now, when building partnerships between startups and large corporate organizations, I think what is important, to build successful partnerships is, first of all, on the corporate side, there's really, a willingness to cooperate rather than dominate. In a large corporate, there's always the tendency to say, well, these are small companies, they don't know our markets, why do we need to listen to them? And so it's important that you create this openness and awareness in the teams that work with the startups. It's also for that you need dedicated personnel. A startup has whatever, 10, 20, 30 employees maybe. You cannot put in every meeting 5 new people in front of them. They need to have their interface partners, the people they know, the people they can trust and work with on a regular basis. These teams in the corporates, they need a dedicated budget and also top management support. Because here this is something that's outside the ordinary processes of large corporates, and if the teams don't have the support of the top management, this will lose very quickly momentum again. And then, as I said, those relationships, they always need to be at arm's length. Make sure that not one party, be it the corporate or the startup, is taking undue advantage from the cooperation. On the startup side, I think what's important is really patience, because those large corporates, those mills, they grind slowly. And the corporates can easily waste a year on internal politics, and in the meantime, a startup is running out of money. So you need to be patient, and at the same time, you need to make sure you're not putting all your money on that corporate. Make sure you have other options, you develop other partnerships and other market channels to move forward. Also, when working with a large corporate, make sure that you find an application where you can go quickly, you can gather quickly field experience, references, demonstrate your technology on a tram, as I showed it, or so that you can take other customers there, that you can benefit from this endorsement effect. And make sure that the product design is also part of, so that you if you need to specifically design a product for that corporate, that you get also some funding for that, so that it's part of the partnership. You get paid for these specific designs. Now, we at Aster Capital, we think we're really a unique gateway to such corporate partnerships. And it's essentially our prime mission. It's also the reason why an Alstom, a Schneider, or a Solvay have invested in us, because they want to pursue open innovation strategies. They have realized they cannot develop all those technologies in-house. They need to rely on new ideas and input from outside, and among others from the startup world. And so they want to engage with through us with the startup world. We ourselves, also as a team, we focus on creating business opportunities. We're not there to dominate a startup or to prepare a startup for an acquisition or anything. We really want to create value by growing those businesses. We're sponsored by the corporates, but as a team, we're independent in decision making. So we don't need to get corporate approvals for our investments. And finally, as I said, we look for financial returns.